Ravana, and welcome, friends, to another episode of the Lord of the Wrongs podcast, the only Tolkien podcast the professor himself would dismiss as juvenile and crass. I am Dan Zerby, here with my co-host Sean Kelly, and together we will be discussing the writings, adaptation, news, and anything else involving the works of J.R.R. Tolkien in a manner we are quite confident he would not approve of. Hi, Sean. How's it going, man?
It's pretty good, Zerby. Thanks.
Yeah.
I actually just got back from vacation. I was down in
Yeah,
Mexico.
you're in Mexico.
Yeah, and I brought my copy of Lord of the Rings to try to get some reading done.
Yeah, all right, nice.
Naturally, I read about 6 pages, and that was
and then
it.
switched over to the audiobook.
No, it's just I would read and then just kept falling asleep over and over on the plane, and otherwise I was just sipping Mai Tais on the beach.
Ooh, yeah.
But I got a little Tolkien action. So
yeah, that's pretty good. I'm hoping that you use lots of SPF 50.
70 when I could.
Oh yeah, there we go, my man. Right.
I burn like a peach.
Yeah, your name is Sean Kelly. I don't.
Yeah, I don't know what anybody expects
you could
from
assume
me.
that. Yeah,
that name don't tan.
No, it does not. It either reflects the sun or soaks it all up until you look like a lobster.
Yeah, I got some lobstery parts for sure.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. It's hard to avoid in Mexico.
Yeah. Well, I think this is starting to become a bit of a trend, so I thought we'd give it a name.
I don't like the sound of
that. We're gonna put on our dunce caps and go walk shamefully into Correction Corner.
Yeah. By the way, did you just come up with that for Correction Corner? Is that going to be a recurring segment?
I mean, it seems like it's been recurring every episode now, so it might as well be a segment.
We might as well have a good name for it.
Yeah. And the dunce cap is on, ladies and gentlemen. Turns out I was tasked with coming up with producing from reputable sources the Tolkien fun fact for last episode, and I made some claims about the British line of succession right before World War II. Turns out Tolkien, maybe he's in line for the throne, but there are a lot of digits to his spot in the queue.
I'd imagine he's not. He's not right behind. Yeah,
no, he's not taken over. Yeah, he's not taken over for at least a week or two, unless there's something truly terrible happening. in which case, I don't think that anybody's going to be able to trace it all the way back to him.
Not likely.
Princess Mary was in fact seventh in line for the throne at the time.
Yeah.
Not sure who that is, but
me neither.
Wasn't him. I don't know if she wrote any books, but certainly not ones I've read.
Yeah, and even if she did, I can't imagine they're nearly as engaging as what the professor wrote.
Yeah. So take that, Mary.
Screw you, screw
Your
you,
Highness.
Mary. Yeah, your queenship, princessship. I don't know. Whatever.
And then I've also got a bit of a correction from last episode. I called, I described Luis Guzman as virulent a couple of times, and as far as I know, he's not.
He's not ill.
He's not diseased to the point of being infectious in any way.
As far as we know,
I don't want to jinx him by having given
he seems like
COVID
a nice fellow
or something at the time. So I would like to correct that to having called him virile. Just to cover my bases there.
Yeah, we don't want to somehow get sued for willing into existence a illness on Luis Guzman.
Yeah, right now it's just defamation, but if he got sick, who knows what they could slap me with. And I also, a few episodes ago, actually, I mentioned my wallpaper, which is a piece of art of the Fellowship Escaping Moria. And I just wanted to credit that, and so people can take a look at it. It's called The Flame of Udun by Manuel Castañón. And
it's beautiful.
It's a pretty incredible piece of art, and it's got an interesting depiction of the Balrog, which
is
lines
a
up.
little it's a little closer to the description of the Balrog in the book.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty huge, but a lot of the descriptions are sort of vague, but
he's more than man size is really all we know for sure about his actual height, or I don't know what he weighs in at, but
maybe nothing, maybe a whole lot. I mean, he does break the bridge, I guess. So
yeah, but that's that. I think that was Gandalf's staff is what really
mostly
climbed to the bridge to break. It's telling him he cannot pass.
And like we said, the movie adaptation is really just friggin' rad, but it's definitely not as close to what the book described.
Yeah, what the text says really about it. For example, Gandalf never says you shall not pass. He says you cannot pass. And while that seems like what my girlfriend would call a nitpicky distinction,
it's quibbling for sure.
But there is a difference, though. You shall not is like a command. You cannot is like a statement of fact.
It's
and
definitive.
I think that's the difference. Yeah, it's similar to when the Witch King tries to enter Minas Tirith, and Gandalf says the same thing. You cannot enter here. He doesn't forbid it. He doesn't say like I'm not going to let you. He just says you cannot, and he doesn't.
I mean, it's like he's invoking the power of the Valar or Eru by just sort of stating a fact, and it comes into reality, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the Witch King does the same thing to counter him by saying your staff is broken, does he not?
But that's just in the movie.
Is it?
Yep.
Man. It was a pretty cool scene, though.
It was a very cool scene until, but when you really think about it, it's like Gandalf is a Maya, and he's also Gandalf 2.0, so he has even more power than when he was Gandalf the Grey.
Yeah,
and it's like, why would the Witch King, a man who is just bewitched into being still alive somehow?
He does have Sauron's sort of power backing him up.
He does, but
it's all very fuzzy. It's hard to quantify any of that stuff.
Yeah, and also it's also difficult just because these movies, they were A, so good, and B, they were really our first introduction to this, so it's often what we remember.
Yeah.
There are many times where I'm like, oh crap, did that happen in the book? I know it happened in the movie, but I don't know if that happened in the book.
It's been I'm in the first book now, and this is reread, so it's been quite a while since I've gotten that far. But anyway, let's talk about trees.
Yeah, one of Tolkien's favorite topics, based on how many pages he's dedicated to describing trees.
Yeah, Tolkien was a big tree fan. He would maybe call him a tree hugger nowadays, but I don't think that was as much of a thing back then.
No, I mean, he was I don't think he would care for a lot of people who describe themselves as tree huggers. I don't know that he would care for, if nothing else, their hygiene.
Yeah, he was.
I'm teasing so hippies.
He wasn't a hippie, but he did love trees all the same.
He loved trees, and he did not like industrialization. So.
Yeah, which is sort of an enemy of trees, if you think about it.
Yeah, I can't think of a more natural enemy of trees than industrialization, especially of the English countryside when he was witnessing that happen.
Yeah,
it must have been incredibly depressing for him, as it's depressing for us now.
I was gonna say it's depressing for everybody. I would think. Except for the people making money, I guess.
Yeah, they don't care. They're like, let's sell some lumber.
But Tolkien has a lot of tree characters. I mean, obviously, we all know the Ents.
Everybody knows Treebeard.
Yeah. But there are some significant trees throughout the books, and I think they're all either just straight up important and powerful on their own, or sort of symbolic of things, inside and outside of the context of the story.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of importance placed on trees for sure.
Yeah, and so I think we can probably start off by explaining something we mentioned last episode.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, if you want to take it away, Zerb.
Sure. So, I know the question everybody's asking. How did they see in Valinor? That's a great question. Thank you for asking it. Well, first, there were 2 lamps. Do they have names?
Lamps.
They probably have names. They
Yeah,
had lamps
it was
first.
Ooh.
It doesn't matter. We're talking about trees. Anyway, so there are 2 lamps. One is the light of
it's
sun,
Iluin and Ormal. The
Thank
Iluin's the silver and Ormal is the gold.
There we go. So those are the 2 lamps, and the gold obviously is going to be the light of the day, and the silver is going to be the light of the night, of the moon. Or it's not the moon; it's a lamp. Anyway, Melkor, as you might expect, kills him. He breaks him because he's a jerk.
Yeah, they can't have nice things. When
This is why we can't have nice things, Melkor, you ass. So when he destroys the lamps, there's some darkness, and Yavanna, who we talked about last episode, creates 2 trees that give off their own light. That brings light to Valinor. And the 2 trees are called Laurelin and Telperion. And Laurelin is the gold tree. It's associated. It's considered the female tree. And Telperion is the silver, which is the light of the night, and that's considered to be the male tree. And
you would have seen those in the Rings of Power.
Yes, in the first episode. Yeah. The first episode, there's flashbacks to Valinor, and you see them in the background, and they are beautiful. I mean, we talked about this a little before we started recording. How like I think they really nailed that. So kudos to Rings of Power. If nothing else, that one shot of Valinor is really cool.
They had some beautiful visuals, and that was definitely high on the list for me.
Yeah, it was. I got a little emotional when they pan up, and
definitely
chills. You see that, and it's like, ooh, oh, look, they're there. So yeah, as I mentioned, they were created by Yavanna, and they were watered by the tears of Nienna, who is always crying.
Yeah,
that's our Elizabeth Olsen, I think. Right?
Yes, Elizabeth Olsen, the watering can.
Elizabeth Olsen, the watering can. She's always crying, the poor woman. So yeah, these 2 trees are what give off the light, and they basically alternate giving light 7 hours a day, which is weird. I don't remember if that's because a day is a different length of time.
Yeah, so so a day was like 12 hours, and so they sort of like slowly pulse to full light throughout each day. And so like each tree would be glowing for 7 hours in that day, and so when
there'd be overlap, and that explains
so each one they were both glowing for an hour, but like dimly, and so it was sort of a combined
trade-off.
Which sounds like a beautiful way to count days, and a difficult way to keep track of time. Looking back,
it really does. Like, oh crap! Wait, they're both okay. Which one's waning? Which one's waxing? I'm not sure.
Yeah, and
like, I took a long nap, and I'm very confused.
Yeah, and they're looking back, it's like, well, it's before the first stage, it lasts for 10,000 years or something. It's like, all right, well. 10,000 years, but the days are only 12 hours, or are they? So it's all very unclear.
Yeah, and I'm not really a math guy, so I'm not going to try to work that out while we're recording.
I would just say it just didn't matter because everybody at the time was effectively immortal, and so they just didn't care about time.
Yeah, time didn't have. There weren't a lot of appointments people needed to make at that point.
I doubt it. I have a dentist appointment. 3/4 wax of Telperion, so I gotta get to that. It looks like we're about half past wax right now.
I got to show up 15 minutes early to fill out paperwork. So as you might expect, these trees don't last.
No, I mean, once again, we can't
guess
have nice
who's
things.
responsible for that? Well, you can't put all of the blame exclusively on Melkor this time because he brought a friend. He brought a friend to destroy the tree.
He wasn't big enough to just sort of knock him over or whatever.
Not even Melkor is so powerful that he could just extinguish the light of the two trees. He needed to bring in the big guns.
Yeah, he didn't have an axe big enough, so he got a spider.
Yeah, or is it a spider? It's certainly a horrific thing in spider form. Ungoliant, who if you read Lord of the Rings, you might recognize that name as the mother of Shelob and pretty much probably all the other giant spiders in Middle Earth, like the ones that attack the dwarves and Bilbo and Hobbit.
Of bad spiders,
of just giant spiders. There are regular spiders, like in the Hobbit. It's mentioned that there are just regular old, normal doing their thing spiders. That nothing necessarily inherently evil about them. However,
don't wrap people up and suck their juices out or whatever.
Yeah, well, they do if you consider insects people, but I'm short of that. Yeah. So Ungoliant is a giant monster spider that eats light. I mean, it's a hell of a creature.
Strange diet, I would say.
Yeah. I didn't think. Yeah, I don't know how nutritious it is. I have to imagine light is not that nutritious because she is always hungry.
Well,
he always wants to eat.
Tolkien didn't probably know too much about wave particle duality at the time, so I think.
Not his area of expertise.
No, I think
probably tell the etymology of the word.
Yeah, but which makes me wonder if she can eat light. Is Ungoliant just also a tree,
or maybe she's a black hole, a sentient black hole?
Wow. Yeah, well, we got another conspiracy cooking, so we'll get back to you with that one.
Yeah. But anyway, so she eats all the light of the trees. She sucks the lights out of the trees. I think Melkor puts a big hole in them, and she just slurps it all up.
Gross.
Yeah, sorry. You're welcome, listener, for that audio nightmare.
Yeah, that was gross. The concept is gross.
Yeah. So the only light that remained in the trees after Ungoliant and Melkor finish them off is captured in the Silmarils that would be created by Fëanor, and we will get around to more detail on that, but we're going to stick to the tree theme this time around.
She wanted the Silmarillion, but
yeah, I mean the Silmarils are a really big chunk of the Silmarillion, if you can believe it.
Yeah, the thing that story's named after. So yeah, that probably requires at least one episode.
Yeah, we'll get there. Not this episode. We'll go into more depth about the Silmarils at a different time. There's a lot to cover there. But anyway, so the trees are destroyed, but there is a clone of Telperion, the silver tree, made. Before that, I should mention that the last fruit of Laurelin, the gold tree, that becomes the sun. The last fruit that's left on the tree, basically is turned into the sun, and the last flower of Telperion becomes the moon. So there is a. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it seems like there's a lot of work that Tolkien does to turn this really weird mystical fantasy world just into basically the Earth. I mean, at this time, the world was flat. It was much smaller. There was no sun, no moon.
Nope, just these two trees.
Yeah, and so a couple of Maiar end up just carrying them up into the sky.
Yes, yeah, basically, yeah, a couple of Maiar, a couple of the Valar's, servants, and
Yeah, we got Tilion carrying the sun up, and then Arion carrying the moon up, and that's why what the moon is generally referred to as she, and the sun is he. Or is it the other way around?
It's the other way around, actually. In Tolkien's mythology.
Tilion's a man.
Well, he's a Maya.
Oh. Oh yeah, no. Tilion takes the moon.
Yeah. Right.
No.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, I got it.
I know that was one of those
track of all these names.
I know it was one of those things where I'm like, I don't need to write that down. We won't get to that part that much. And there we are. But anyway, so there is a tree that is identical to Telperion named Galathilion, except it does not give off any light of its own. But it's otherwise
a clone.
Yeah, it's effectively a clone without the nightlight. Yeah. And
yeah, it's almost like a clone without a consciousness. Wink, wink.
Oh God, are we gonna get into the Madame Tussauds thing again?
All right, don't get me started. I'm just gonna go off.
So Galathilion is this tree that's nearly identical to Telperion, and it had many seedlings, one of which is planted on the Isle of Tol Eressëa, and that seedling that becomes a tree is actually named Celeborn, which is also the name of Galadriel's husband.
I would guess he's probably named after the tree.
Yes, I think that's a safe bet.
Also, because I believe, just to real quick, Tol Eressëa is the island. It's a sort of a waypoint island that's east of Valinor.
Yeah, it's not that far off the coast, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and it's sort of the first stop between Valinor and Middle Earth.
Yeah, correct. It's closer also to Valinor than when Numenor become is brought up out of the ocean. Like it's still closer to Valinor than Numenor was. Mm-hmm. Just for the geography, the art of geography.
Everybody loves a geography lesson over a podcast.
It's always effective with no visual, right? So anyway, one of the seedlings of Celeborn becomes Nimloth, the White Tree of Numenor, which becomes the White Tree of Gondor. The seedling of that is taken by Isildur when the faithful leave Numenor and go to Middle Earth, and when they establish Gondor, So the White Tree of Gondor is the great grandson of Telperion.
I guess I don't really know if trees have family trees, but
well, they have names sometimes. So
if
they have names, they can have a genealogy.
Honestly, only Tolkien would make a family tree for trees, thoh.
He made a family tree for every hobbit in the Shire. So why not? Right?
Just for fun, I guess. Who
knows?
Just to explain it for everybody to enjoy at home, and you look at that thing and it's like, oh, I no longer enjoy this aspect of it. Try to discern that. But so we actually have seen all of those trees on screen now, right? Oh
yeah, they have. They've all been shown. It's true.
Yeah, that's kind of nice. I mean, we obviously only saw the the White Tree of Gondor, and that's the tree that Sauron wants to burn, and I mean everybody knows the one in Minas Tirith.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and we see the sort of more brilliant version in Numenor, and then we get to see the
OG tree.
Well, the sort of I guess it would be the unoriginal gangster tree, because
the son of the original gangster tree.
Still a gangster tree, but
it's
just a clipping. Or a copy.
Galathilion is Ice Cube's son, who would play Ice Cube in a movie, but wouldn't.
It looks the same, but just doesn't have that glow about him.
There's just a slight difference, or in the case of Ice Cube, glare about him.
Yeah. So
anyway, we're always bringing NWA into Middle Earth, aren't we?
Yeah,
that is the mission of this podcast.
We're just Tolkien brought Catholicism into Middle Earth. We're just trying to get NWA in there.
Yeah, we're bringing gangster rap into it.
So anyway, I think that basically
was basically the story of the early the
trees,
two big trees. Yeah, the two most important trees in the Legendarium, certainly.
I think that it would have been beautiful to see. That would be like, that's just one of those things that you would just wish to see in person. There's a lot of those.
If it was real. Oh, I know. Yeah. I know. There's nothing in Middle Earth or on Arda that I wouldn't want to see in person. But
yeah, basically.
You have to sell
maybe a charging mimic, but
I could skip that. Yeah, I don't need to be there for that. Like,
I don't need Oliphaunts. But.
Yeah, an elephant, except it's way bigger than an elephant, like twice the size of an African elephant.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
African elephants are terrifying on their own, let alone when they're double that size with people riding on them. Yeah. So let's talk more about trees.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I figure if we're talking about stuff Yavanna made, we could probably talk about Ents, right?
Yeah, we could and should at least mention them.
I think. Once again, we can probably cover Ents more in depth in another episode because there's a lot to cover there.
There's a lot. So the Ents. I think we did mention this in the last episode when we were going through the Valar. The Ents were, I guess, created and given actual life by Eru, obviously, but they were created by Yavanna, who
she had the idea. And Eru made it happen.
Right, as only Eru can.
We'll talk about the flame imperishable. I shouldn't even mention it because it brings up a whole other load of questions. But he's the only one who can really create actual life. So when Yavanna's husband made the dwarves himself, and they were just sort of like, yes, Aule. And they were just sort of like freaky puppet people, and he got
that is what they were.
He got chastised by his Big Daddy Eru, and then Eru basically said, "You know what? I'll you did a bad thing, but I see where your heart was in the right place," and so he does end up giving them life, and so
They just come after men,
Yes, they just had to sleep in holes in the ground and then spring out of them eventually.
Indeed.
But Yavanna, after seeing all that, was sort of worried about her trees, just her regular trees, because
dwarves are fond of axes.
They are. They're fond of axes and foraging and just generally...
and to forge, you need to burn stuff.
Yes, namely already burned trees. So
kind of the odd couple here.
Yavanna and Aule. You can see why they might have disagreed on occasion.
On occasion, just about minor things.
Every occasion,
creations.
And she basically requested shepherds for her trees, and that's what she got.
Yeah, in the Ents. Yeah.
And so we actually see they're tree herders, so they sort of herd trees which can't move, but we also get to see huorns, which are trees that can move.
Yeah, they're not quite Ents, they're not quite trees. They're pretty much in between. They can move, and they tend to be pretty pissy.
We did see them, they're friendly, certainly.
Yeah, especially if you're an orc.
Yeah.
If you're a goblin, you want to stay away from the huorns.
We do see them. Those are the trees that sort of run out at the end of the field in Helm's Deep.
Yeah, at the end of the Battle of Helm's Deep, they.
I think you see it in the extended, but not the theatrical.
They do show that as the orcs are fleeing from the Hornburg. They run into this forest of huorns, and you just see the trees bash them to bits.
And you see them, the Ents actually shepherding them over there I think briefly as well. But
yeah, I think it's a short shot, but yeah, I think you're right. I think you do see that.
I believe in the books, the 3 hunters go through the trees at one point, that through the horns, or they go past them.
I think they go,
and they're basically just like, all right, don't move and don't look orcish, and they won't hurt us.
Lower your axe, Gimli. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gimli, put your axe down. They don't like it. It's making them uncomfortable, and they can make us very uncomfortable.
But yeah, the Ents, they've been around for a long time. And
Treebeard is named as the oldest living thing in Middle Earth,
which is pretty.
It's very old.
By Middle Earth standards, that's pretty old.
Extremely old, many thousands of years old. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's I guess it's still unclear because Tolkien's pretty unclear about a lot of that stuff. And he was also named that by who? Gandalf?
Gandalf says that.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's pretty reliable, but he's also not omniscient, so we don't.
He's not omniscient. Yeah.
So he might not actually know if he's the eldest or not, but I would say for sure he's definitely old.
He's one of, if he's not the single oldest living thing in Middle Earth, he's one of.
So we'll cover more of.
I was gonna say we could horns and Ents in a different episode, because we can
because there's the Ents, the Ent wives, which aren't. I mean, they're mentioned in the.
I mean, there's a whole song about them in the book.
In the books, yeah. But for now, I think we should move on to our sponsor. Not for today's episode. Don't get your hopes up, Zerb. I'm talking about a segment of Mad Men of the West.
Oh, Mad Men of the West.
So we're trying to do a little product placement in our adaptations of Tolkien, and
it enters the public domain.
Yes, of course. And I was thinking, Ents, shepherds. What if they had a bit of a rebrand?
What'd you have in mind?
I think give them a little bit of a cowboy vibe.
Okay.
And then, when they're hurting their trees, Roundup. The weed killer. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, those Huarns are just galloping along through the hills and valleys of Rohan, and they're just sort of running alongside, spraying Roundup to keep them in line. Yeah. And, get rid of pesky weeds while they're at it.
Of course, yeah. You don't want the weeds taking precious resources away from the trees.
Yeah, I mean, Ents love trees, hate weeds. I don't know if that's true, but
almost as much as Monsanto hates weeds.
So they I think it's a good pick for them. Just running around in like sort of branchy cowboy hats, and just every time they spray a hit of Roundup, there's the whip sound and everything.
I love that you're keeping this keeping this marketing device that they don't even use anymore, because Roundup, they don't even like advertise for Roundup anymore because it's got such a bad name now.
Yeah, I mean,
if you want to kill some weeds, man. It does work.
Yeah, it's just, if you want to kill some weeds and give yourself some sort of give yourself or your children some sort of genetic disease.
Yeah, you want to increase your risk for cancer. You spray it in your vegetable garden.
We'll keep that one on deck, but maybe with information coming out over the next 26 years, we might want to workshop that, maybe back out. So
yeah, maybe we'll have to find a more like a natural weed killer.
Yeah.
I can't think of any brands.
I mean, I'm not going to. Yeah, none of them have the advertising presence that Roundup does. So
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, they're sort of they're the current choice. They're the current front runner, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, there'll naturally be a bidding war. So
yeah,
we'll see who's going to make us our money.
Well, I didn't mention this in the roundup, but I do want to quickly mention another kind of tree in Tolkien, and that's like trees. Like, do you smoke trees? Like weed, man. We could probably have a whole episode about this one as well, but there's giving the true answer now, because I almost certainly will just refuse to give the correct answer if we do an episode about this on its own. Whenever they're smoking weed in Lord of the Rings, it's pipe weed, which is tobacco.
It's tobacco. I know every stoner Tolkien fan really wants to believe that somehow it's cannabis. It's not. It's very explicit. First of all, in The Hobbit, it's only referred to as tobacco. And
which is sort of an anachronism.
Yeah. It's and also if you just read the prologue concerning hobbits, there's a bit concerning pipeweed, and Tolkien explicitly says it's probably a variety of nicotiana, which makes it tobacco.
Yeah.
It's just what it is, guys. Sorry.
Yeah.
There's unfortunately really no room for debate on that one. There's plenty of things to debate in the Legendarium, but whether or not pipeweed is cannabis or tobacco, it's very clearly tobacco. It's very clearly tobacco.
Yeah. Although it would be friggin' sick, man. It's
talk about tree huggers, right?
Tolkien loved smoking his pipe, and
he did.
He did get high on weekends, but for the rest of the week, hang on, I got to pencil that fact in for correction next week.
Yeah, we got to correct that next week. We have to open next week's episode with saying, "Oh yeah, by the way, there's no reason to think he." But you're a pipe smoker yourself, Sean, are you not?
I used to be. I've switched to a vape because it's really cool, and also just not anywhere nearly as bad for you.
It's not, but I mean, Tolkien lived into his 80s, and he was born in the 1800s. So who says maybe
good. Zerby, and I'm gonna pick up that habit again. Thanks.
I mean, I very occasionally will smoke a pipe myself, but
it's relaxing,
pretty rare these days. It is a very relaxing. It's frustrating to learn, how to do it, but it is a very relaxing pastime.
But most of all, just don't do it, kids. Tobacco is bad for you.
Yeah, tobacco is bad for you. There's no safe amount of nicotine, nicotine's probably the wrong thing, but there's no safe amount of tobacco you can imbibe or inhale. It's not good for you, but it does relax you, and stress is also a killer. So, if you're underage, don't do it. And if you're overage, you're an adult.
And also, just don't.
We're not pro tobacco. Yeah, we're not pro tobacco.
You're sounding sort of pro tobacco.
Well, I'm an addict. What do you want? I'm a nicotine addict.
I have to justify it.
Well, I'm not justifying it.
No, listen, I do too. Don't worry.
Yeah, what can you say? It's a tricky little chemical, nicotine. Anyway,
So
should we refocus?
Yes, probably. Yeah, I think you need to step out and smoke a pipe really quick.
I'll just take a draw on my own vape here.
Yeah. So, there are a number of other times when trees are significant throughout his stories. They're climbed up in trees, throwing exploding pine cones at goblins.
Sure, yeah. And occasionally also getting your butt kicked by a tree. And I'm not talking about the orcs at Isengard either.
Actually, it's more like getting your ass eaten by a tree. and not
phrasing, dude.
Literally. Yeah, sorry.
I mean, this is why Tolkien would dismiss our podcast as juvenile and crass. Yeah, that's this is the
I'm just
content
trying to
you're
live
here
up
for.
to the name. Yeah. So
Lord
there's
of the Wrongs, not Lord of the Rights.
Yeah, you're goddamn right. So there's a part in the first book that is not covered in the movies really at all. But
No, it's not.
They skipped out on a lot of Hobbit stuff.
Yeah,
there was, the Hobbits had this whole journey. For those of us who haven't read the books and watched the movies, they have this whole journey while getting even to Bree.
Yeah, just to Bree, they have several adventures that we don't see in the films.
Yeah, some are more or less scary. I think part of the reason they avoided this whole section is because of Tom Bombadil, who's another character that we'll have to get into another episode.
But I love him so much.
Yeah, he's just this weird enigma in the Lord of the Rings that just is so unexplained that we're just going to be able to wildly speculate about everything.
He's one of the more fun characters to speculate on.
Yes,
because there are no real answers. So,
but when they're about to go meet this mysterious figure, they're going through this creepy wood,
the old forest,
south of the Shire, and
while
they're venturing
east,
while they're venturing through the old forest, they run into an interesting character who is a tree.
He is.
Yeah, Old Man Willow. He's called, and he eats Merry and Pippin. Long and short of it.
Effectively, yeah. He kind of puts I guess, for lack of a better word, it's not. He's not a sorcerer, he's a tree, but he does have certain powers, and he basically puts the four hobbits to sleep. And Merry and Pippin lean up against him, and he swallows their asses whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a very sketchy power for a tree to have.
It really is. It's terrifying. I mean... a willow tree that can open up and swallow you? It's horrible.
Yeah. And then, remember, this is the whimsical sort of section of the Lord of the Rings, which, obviously has its creepy interjections, but we're out of the gates. Honestly, some of the scariest stuff in those books is stuff that happens to the hobbits. Yeah.
Yeah, before they even hit Rivendell. Yeah, the scariest things.
Yeah. I mean, they're basically, I think the other hobbits try lighting a fire to scare the tree into
Sam and Frodo, yeah. They're like, okay, we'll light a fire to get them out. Yeah.
And apparently the tree speaks to Merry and Pippin and tells them he's gonna crush them
unless they put the fire out.
Yeah. So they're in a bit of a standoff here, and that's when
Frodo just starts screaming for help.
Yeah.
I mean, basically just just going up and down the lane a little bit, just screaming for anybody to hear him.
And once again, we won't go too much into Tom Bombadil. He's just
we're going to go into him
weird fairy tale character who rocks up, basically tells Old Man Willow he's a naughty boy and makes him let go of the hobbits.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what he does. He doesn't say you're a naughty boy, Old Man Willow, but he does say
more or less.
Similar, actually. Yeah, I mean, it's very close to that.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's just another sort of instance where it's he's also not even really portrayed as a villainous tree.
He's not exactly evil. Yeah, I don't know.
He's sort of just neutral.
Like kind of a.
And I think he does it because so many people have come and like threatened the forest there with axes and things like that.
I mean it's the old forest, and it is as old as Fangorn, which is the oldest wood, I believe, in Middle Earth, at least.
Yeah, and the oldest guy in Middle Earth.
Yeah,
another thing named after where it lives.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Fangorn is also a name for Treebeard because he is Fangorn.
Yeah, and the area, the the forest as well.
Right. Yeah, the whole forest is called Fangorn Forest, yes.
But yeah, there's a lot of forest fun and shenanigans in
Yeah. So I know we wanted to keep this episode a little bit shorter, but I have a question for you, Sean. Do you think Old Man Willow is a Huorn? Or is he something else? Because we know he's not an Ent, obviously.
Yeah, no, because he can't.
But like, is
walk.
he a Huorn? Yeah, he doesn't move his position. He's always sitting by the creek there, by the.
So I would say he isn't a Huorn like we see with the other Huorns, but he could be some sort of variation. I think he's like Huorns are in between trees and Ents.
Yeah, he's somewhere on like maybe there's a spectrum of how.
Yeah, he's on the sliding
tree-ish.
scale. He's an Entish tree, not a tree-ish Ent.
Actually, yeah, we do know that there is kind of a sliding scale for that because Treebeard mentions to Merry and Pippin that, you know, some Ents have become tree-ish and some Huorns have become Entish. Some trees have become Entish. So there's clearly is a scale of how Entish or how tree-ish trees can be. So I agree with you. I don't think he's a Huorn like we see at the end of the battle of the Hornburg. But
he's not a Huorn, but I think he's something similar.
Yeah, agreed.
There's a lot of
he's a little different.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in Tolkien that's like it just isn't clearly defined. It's sort of left up to interpretation.
Yeah. Because it keeps it fun too.
Yeah,
every single thing having an answer is kind of neat because there is so much that does have an actual canonical answer to your question about Lord of the Rings or the Legendarium as a whole. But there are plenty of anomalies and things that are not fully explained, and that keeps it fun. I would say
it
gives us something to talk about
with that. But it is. I do like that. That sort of mystery aspect.
Yeah, just as with life, you're going to have to accept some mystery.
Yeah. Well, speaking of mysteries, I think we mentioned in the first episode that it would be kind of fun to explore some of the conspiracy theories that have been coming out of the newspapers in Bree in Middle Earth.
Oh, yeah.
That's very specific. I don't know what Middle Earth Breitbart would be or whatever, but long and short of it, I've got a conspiracy for you, and you know what? This one's gonna knock your socks off.
By the way, Sean, I'm just gonna interrupt real quick because we were talking about this before, and like, oh, we didn't have a name for this segment. I did come up with one. It's a conspiracy unmasked, like the chapter of the Lord of the Rings.
Oh. Okay. Right? Oh my. Yeah, that's perfect.
I literally just remembered that. So I think I wrote it down somewhere, but I just remembered that. Oh yeah.
All right.
That's right.
We'll leave that in just so that you, the listeners, can see just how prepared and professional we are. We're just sort of coming up with stuff on the spot.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I was busy gardening this past week and you were on vacation, and that's why.
It took this long to come up with. All right, so conspiracy unmasked.
Yes.
So if you'll remember this extremely major event in the second book, Ents destroy Orthanc. Saruman's
they don't destroy Orthanc. Isengard.
They destroy Isengard, and
they have a hell of a time, but they don't manage to they don't manage to destroy Orthanc itself because the men of Numenor had great contractors.
Yeah. I guess that's just another thing. We'll get into that later. That should become a catchphrase.
Well, I mean, that's what part of what's fun about talking about this stuff is like there's always more that we have.
There's always more to get into. Yeah, but
there's no limit.
I posit Saruman's a wizard.
He is.
I think.
Agreed.
I think he might have staged the whole thing.
Oh my god, the entire destruction of Isengard? He staged it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you'll note our records show we located the municipal records office in Edoras, and Saruman had actually filed for a large insurance claim the day that Isengard was destroyed. And
that's amazing.
And he knew that Gandalf is a merciful soul. You know, he was there when he was training with Nienna.
It's true.
So he knew he would be spared. And, you know, he was fighting a losing battle. He shouldn't have been, but he was.
And he shouldn't have been. It was directly against what he was supposed to be doing.
But, well, that's exactly, you know, I think he was just throwing the whole thing, taking this map. I mean, think about how much Isengard was worth. This is a Númenórean stronghold and all the land surrounding it. And they were ravaged by these. Yeah, this was an industrious fortress ravaged by, quote unquote, walking trees. I mean, I'm surprised he even was able to make the claim on insurance. There was probably precedent.
Are we really going to believe the mainstream Middle-earth media?
Yes, the Minister at Times. I don't know what that would be, but
the Gondor Gazette.
So I think he took his large payout and went up into the Shire, where he was able to basically start a multimedia empire, hire a bunch of strong arms, and take over because of that payout. People say it was his voice, but how convincing can you be?
No, I mean, that's true. It's like, if his voice is so powerful, then, you know, why couldn't he trick those stupid trees that allegedly exist?
Yeah. I think what's more powerful than even a wizard's voice? Money.
He ran off. That kind of hurt. You said that. It kind of hurt me.
Yeah, it's actually kind of sad how true that was, but he just ran off with a couple of sacks of gold like Bilbo coming to the Shire, and he took over.
Son of a bitch. It was all part of his plan.
Yeah. Might be more evil than what he did originally, but certainly,
I mean, having to do with insurance is definitely got to be more evil than just trying to take over Middle Earth.
Yeah. The worst part is they're probably going to, you know, when they catch him and try to imprison him, they're going to try to stick, you know, all those war crimes and him being in league with the Dark Lord, but yeah, none of it's going to stick. They're going to end up getting him for insurance fraud and giving him the maximum sentence.
Says Saruman is the Al Capone of he gets brought down.
I mean, honestly, he kind of is.
I mean, a little bit, yeah. He doesn't. He doesn't really get taken down for what he should be taken down for. Yeah, it's true.
And he gets killed by his constituent there.
Spoilers, dude.
Yes, once again, spoilers for the
for a movie that is more than 20 years old, and a book that is came out in the 50s.
All right, so I think we can wrap up now, and
I think we're at 54 minutes, so we're not really doing great at keeping the episodes a little bit shorter.
Well, it's certainly shorter than last time, but
it is. We're having too much fun.
Yeah, I don't think that's an issue, and
hopefully our listeners are as well. Again, all 5 of them. Yeah.
I think we're up to 10 now, which is record.
doubled from last week.
So I already shared a fun fact, but now I got to put you on the spot, Zerb. What's your Tolkien fun fact for the week?
Right. Well, my Tolkien fun fact for the week was that Tolkien actually had some hobbies other than philology and then creating incredible mythical worlds. He had a passion for making lamps. He would make lamps as gifts and give them to people. C.S. Lewis had one. There were several in his home. He loved making lamps.
Are these gas old lamps or
no, like regular? Well, he may have made some gas lamps as well, but I think he really liked turning like old fire extinguishers. He was kind of a hipster that way, you know. turning old fire extinguishers into lamps.
I think I saw one of his works in a movie. Did you ever watch A Christmas Story?
Yeah. I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got that. I think he contributed that leggy lamp.
Yeah, that may have been that. Yeah, we'll have
it could have been a knockoff. It could have been a knockoff.
Yeah, we may have to revisit that. We'll do some research before next episode, and we'll get some hard facts on that.
Yes, hard facts. The thing we're not best for.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Well, with that,
we'll say join us on the next episode of the Lord of the Wrongs podcast, and Namaste, friends.
See you next time.